Hey guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. Today's video is going to be almost a little upsetting because you're never going to guess what I found in this 1991 dark emerald green coupe. Now this car, it came sort of like a trade deal. I made a deal with a guy for the reef car that I had because he wanted desperately a really clean reef car that he could restore and rebuild. He really likes the rare, unique colors that some of the Foxes came in. Calypso, reef. I think he just picked up a Bimini blue car. So he's got quite the collection. He had this, actually he had two dark emerald greens, and this is the one that he wanted to let go. And he told me the car is clean, no real rust or anything like that. The car's been repainted, and I'll go over it all with you guys. But yeah, you're going to be probably just as surprised as me when you see what I found. All right, so here it is, 1991, dark emerald green on light titanium, and pretty solid little car here. Even came with the Carfax, had a light hit in the rear, and believe the estimated damage was $1,700, so not that much. And the trunk VIN matches the quarter VIN, so it's probably tail light, rear bumper cover, and I'll show you guys a little spot that I found back there, but that isn't what we're going to be talking about today. What I found is much greater and much more surprising, but we'll get into that soon. Just want to show you guys the car. It's solid. It presents very nice. These front tires are bald. Headlights need to be cleaned up. The inner and the outers are okay. I don't know if I don't even think I'm going to be able to sand those down. So I'm going to have to swap out the headlights. No real big deal there. The trim, fairly good shape. Quarter windows are surprisingly pretty nice as well. You can see where some paint got blended. There's the blend line right there. Have the classic little bit of A-pillar crack here, so somebody did a little bit of fill and repair. That's, again, no huge deal. The GoPro's not going to pick it up. There's a few slight, or maybe we'll pick it up, who knows. We'll find out when I'm editing the video. There's a few little dings in the roof and a few little dings in the trunk lid, almost like some hail damage at one point. Again, you really have to look for it, but it's there. Now this car is pretty much as stock as they come, with the exception of it has a muffler delete and a cold air intake. So not going to open up the car or show you guys anything yet because I almost want to reenact how I found what I found in this car. So I'm going to go ahead, pull the car in and get it up on the hoist, and we'll do a little, I guess, walkthrough of exactly what happened and what I found. All right, so we're in the car. No check engine lights, everything works. 245,000 kilometers on the car, which is probably 150 or so thousand miles. We got a stock radio, this interesting shifter knob here, and we're gonna go ahead and pull this guy in. All right, guys, so we got the car in the shop. It's almost ready to go up on the lift. And this is pretty much the way it went down the first time I did an overview of the car. And again, I wasn't expecting to find what I found, so I wasn't doing anything with the GoPro. I do have some cell phone footage, though, that I'll be able to most likely put into the video. So, of course, you get a new car, you want to go over everything, you want to see, what's wrong, what gremlins it might have, etc., etc. So, of course, you want to check out the engine bay. Everything actually looks really nice and clean in here. I have not wiped anything down. This is the way that the car came. It's got its recall certificate here for the salt and pepper shakers back there. You can see an alarm horn. And It has most of its coil cover. The bottom half has been ripped off. Got our old school car audio battery terminals on there. One thing I did find, you can see a little bit of coolant sitting there on the top of the timing cover. So that's a little bit of a burn. So I'm most likely going to get into some gaskets in the front here, but you know what? It is what it is. Just seems like every car I get this past year has water pump slash coolant issues, but whatever, we will overcome that. The frame rails on the car, very nice and tidy. Well, the car is pretty solid. So the VIN tag's been oversprayed on here, unfortunately. Same thing on this side. The hood's VIN is there, and front bumper cover has been sprayed over as well, unfortunately. So good news is that the VIN stickers are on the hood, they're on the bottoms of the doors, they're on the trunk lid, they're on the 2 rear quarter panels. So those are all the things that indicate to us that the car is mostly original and you know, hasn't been totally wrecked or anything like that. Like I said, the rear bumper cover has most likely been changed. I haven't looked for the VIN sticker underneath there, but what I did find is this rust spot right here. Now, typically, when you would find this rust spot, you would think that things are rotted from the backside here. So this is one of the common places that a Fox will rust, and you won't learn too much about or know too much about it. So you can see here it's actually pretty clean. In that seam there's a little bit of surface rust, and in fact you can see some overspray here. So on the other side here, again, it's pretty clean. So I've seen some really clean Foxes that you would assume there's no rust anywhere, and they actually have rust in those 2 places. So normally, if you saw a rust bubble like this one, you would think that this is completely rotten on the backside, which in fact it is not. But looking a little bit more closely, I think what happened was this part actually was part of the accident that happened in this back corner, because this metal is looking like it's been massaged a little bit, and it looks like there's probably actually some filler here. And I think that as a result of some bad prep, there was some moisture that got caught in here and created this little rust hole. So this is gonna have to get addressed. You know, it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day, but you know what, it's there and it's time to fix this. The most important thing is that it's not rotting from the backside underneath. So what we're gonna have to do is actually just pull the tail light out, and we'll get to know exactly how bad this is. This side, everything is good. There's no issues here. And normally on the Foxes, if one side is bad, the other side is bad as well. So that's why I am kind of leaning towards the fact that this was part of the hit. Something got bent, something got repaired poorly, and that was the result of the rust there. So now I'm going to get the hoist arms underneath the car and get this thing up in the air so I can show you guys and maybe shock you guys a little bit on what it is that I found. All right, guys, the car is now up in the air, and you know, just started walking underneath and checking things out, like the rear frame rails all up on the underside here, near the rear bumper support and all of those things. Now, you can see here, there's a little bit of surface rust on the underside. Likewise, as the front fenders have some of that as well. I think the car probably saw a gravel road at some point, which, you know, kind of resulted in a little bit more wear and tear. There is the tiniest little rust bubble here with a small, that's going to be a little hole in this passenger side rear quarter lip. So that is going to have to be addressed. Everything else looks pretty solid. And again, down here, you can kind of see it's almost like sandblasting, right? And these Canadian cars, if you can see here, our Canadian cars have this like factory gravel guard, I guess, or some sort of coating that is supposed to keep the cars protected. I'm assuming this is for, you know, they're assuming that this would help prevent corrosion in salty road conditions, where in reality, I think it didn't help whatsoever, other than the fact to make your Mustang look really orange peely from below the moldings. So cool little fact there. If you guys have a car that came from the south, this would be all nice and smooth like the top side, but that's what we deal with up here in the north. So again, moving on here, you can see, you know, the paint's pretty much non-existent down here. So again, I think a lot of things were getting thrown up on a gravel road or something similar. And we have a little bit of surface rust here. This really isn't too much to deal with. You know, this can all be cleaned up for the most part. Here is our muffler deleted exhaust system, factory cats on the car still. So the car has a nice little growl, you know, sounds decent. And I guess it's the affordable option when you don't want to pay for a catback. And we got these subframe connectors in here. So the car is connected up, which is good. Keep it from twisting and moving on us. But let's move up to the front here. Lower rad support, everything's pretty clean there. Got some leaks here in the power steering area, which is pretty common with these guys, especially with the miles that are on it. And another thing I noticed, control arms have been changed for some reason. So, you know, written 87. So maybe this car had different suspension on it and that was swapped out, which means maybe this motor has been swapped out. And one thing with the suspension that I noticed, see the bump stop for the pinion here on the diff. So that is probably an energy suspension or something similar. So question is, was there a whole bunch of mods done to this car and it put back to stock at some point? Very possible, which again, no big deal. The thing about these cars now is we want clean, solid cars. So notice during all that time, I avoided the driver's side floor pan. Well, now this is going to be exposed to you guys now. It's much more exposed now than it was when I first looked at it. So I'll try and walk you guys through this scenario. So I was told that there was a small hole in the floor due to one of the catalytic converters being plugged, overheating, and causing a hole to happen. Now, I was a little hesitant about this. I know cats can get clogged. I know they can get hot. Absolutely could fatigue some metal, putting a hole in the floor. That would have to be pretty serious in terms of temperatures and for quite a long time. You'd think the car would be running like absolute garbage. But anyways, I didn't think it was that big of a deal because everything that I've just showed you right now, I was aware of. So he'd sent me videos, he sent me pictures of everything, and I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. So I got over here and I said, okay, let me inspect this hole in the floor. Now this hole was not this big, and you guys already are probably like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? So here's our primary cat. This is where the supposed heat would have been. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of heat in your H-pipe even right here. So this hole was not this big, a little bit smaller. And then I saw a tiny hole back here that wasn't too big. It probably looked like this. And then what I did is I started pushing on the floor pan here. Can you see that? Like I am barely, like I'll even use my pinky finger and show you guys how weak that is. So this is when all my suspicions and alarm bells went off, and I quickly put the car back down on the ground to investigate further. Now, just to give you guys some context, you can see like I can't move the floor pan with my pinky on this side. Same spot on this side. Look at all that flex. And look at the size of this hole. This is where I was like, holy shit, we got problems here. So I put the car back down on the ground, took the door sill plate off, folded the carpet over, and to my surprise, I'm going to show you guys some footage of exactly what it is that I found. So you guys will know that you have your carpet, then you have your sound insulation underneath the carpet. So I folded that up, and then there is kind of the natural, kill mat or a Dynamat that the factory put down. That was all green, solid, and looked perfect. So with the carpet up, you would have assumed nothing. However, I knew that based on that, there was clearly moisture that was caught between that layer of sound deadening and the floor pan and was rotting the floor from the inside out. So this is pretty much where the car was. Carpet all folded over like that, and I went to town and started peeling back all that sound deadening and had a massive pile of that and exposed all the rust that was hiding underneath there. So here we go, guys. So carpet, sound deadening, and then chunk of seam sealer from the front there. You can actually see part of the H-pipe sticking out. So all the sound deadening was on here, and it was just rotting in between these two layers. So clearly at some stage, a whole bunch of water leaked in here, and this water was just pooling, and if anything, that exhaust was boiling the water and creating a lot of condensation and vapors and promoting the rust to form, hence the big hole that we have there. So I quickly sent the gentleman that I got the car off of that video footage that I just shared with you guys, and got him on the phone right away. And I didn't want I guess my disappointment or potential frustrations to get taken out of context via text message. So it was really important that we spoke on the phone. And, I knew that he had no idea because, you would have seen the little bit of a rust hole from the underside, and he didn't own the car for very long. This was, almost a flip for him to a certain extent. He wanted a dark emerald green car. He ended up with two. He kept the better of the two. And he just kind of had this one in his warehouse, and we made the deal. So anyways, he was just like, how could that have happened? It was only in my warehouse. How could water get in there? And I explained to him that, well, water would have been in there for probably years. And even that sound deadening, that was dripping wet. I had the carpet folded up in the car with the door open out in the sun for a day, letting everything dry out. And there's still moisture in there. So yeah, he was really good about it. There's no issues there. This isn't like the motor that blew oil. So there's no bad blood. There's no issues with this deal. I am going to keep the car because it is a really clean car at the end of the day. And there's a lot of potential here. And, it's hard to find a Fox in really good shape. It's just really unfortunate to find something like this. The question is what happened? Was the windshield smashed and they, it got rain in there? Was the driver's side window left down? I do have to pull the seat out and check on the back side, but I think everything is fine back there. I think it's all kind of compartmentalized in this front area here. Needless to say, gonna have to swap out that floor pan and get that changed up. But once all the carpet and everything else is out, then it'll get a full-blown investigation. There we go, guys. There is the story about the 91 Emerald Green with a serious issue. I'm gonna walk over here because the good news is I have a donor. And I was actually gonna use this driver's side floor pan for the T-top car because it is in need. But I think the priority is going to go to the green car here. If you don't remember this car, this is Mr. Notorious's donor that he got for Project Zero that we stripped down. So super unfortunate on what happened to this car. The important thing is that A, I found it, B, I can fix it. It is sort of unfortunate, right? Because now I need to say, oh, the car has a floor pan that's been welded in. First thing people are going to think, oh, it has, it's been driven in the winter and the car's completely rotten and there's a bunch of things hiding. Well, there really isn't. It's really just that part of the floor pan. There is a small little spot on the passenger side door jamb. So just so that you guys can see and know what I know, you know, there is, I don't know if you can see it, there's a tiny little bubble right here. It's actually above the seam, because when you peek in here, this all looks clean. And funny enough, I didn't even notice it until somebody else had pointed it out to me. So that is another little spot in there. Gonna make sure that that gets addressed. And other than that, it's just like surface, like, you know, bad paint prep. This is all easy stuff to clean up. So I'm not concerned whatsoever about that. So the main thing here again is just having a clean overall solid Fox, which this is. But these are the issues that we're running into this day and age. It's hard to find them clean with, you know, most of their numbers matching. And, you know, we got to save these Fox bodies. So I'm not sure if anybody out there might be interested in a nice dark emerald green coupe. You know, I'm going to make the car right, and we'll be up for grabs. Transparency is key. I want you guys to see 100% what it is that I see, so that you guys know what to look for, or if you're buying something from me, you can actually see the process of where the car was and where it ended up. That concludes the story on this one. There is a couple other things that I'm going to do. I got a set of nice Eibach lowering springs I'm going to jam in here. The car needs new tires, and it needs tires that fits the wheels. You know, with the 9-inch wide wheels, 235 is too narrow. You know, 245 is good. 255 is another option. I might throw a 10 mil spacer on the back just to kind of poke that out a little bit and match the offset of the front a little bit more. You know, it's kind of the troubles or the challenges you go through with some of the aftermarket wheel options for your Fox. And get the headlights sorted out, probably do some trim resto, and get this car looking new and fresh all around, and most importantly, get the rust and the corrosion issues addressed and fixed. I was so upset, so disappointed initially when I found all that, but you know what? All that stuff is an opportunity, so you got to be able to just kind of sit on it. And that's what I told the guy that I got the car off of. I was just like, listen, man, you know, I'm not upset. Shit happens. He's gonna make it right, and you know, make sure that I'm not out my time or money in terms of the repair on that one. And it's that I appreciate. So now it allows me to uncover, show you guys what happened, what I found, how it's going to get fixed, everything else. And that's that. So thanks again for following along, guys. There's lots coming down the pipeline between Detch number 5 getting wrapped up. Going to be spending time up at Boogie's shop working on Lemon Dropped finally. And soon we're going to be back down in Texas. And there's some big boosted surprises down there. If you guys haven't seen a few of the images, videos that I've leaked on Instagram, well, then you're missing out. But anyways, stay tuned to the next time. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.